Hello and welcome to you all for this presentation on OER. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this academic program for asking me to be a resource person on this program. Now I will begin my presentation by sharing the screen of my PowerPoint presentation with you all. My presentation today is on OER, Open Educational Resources related to film and media. My name is Nikhila and I teach in the Department of Film Studies, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. The plan for today's presentation goes like this. First, I will talk about the release of free resources online by the education sector that has been going on for the past 2 decades and how it has impacted both educator as well as learner. Second, I will talk about the present context for attention to these resources. In the third part, I will give a definition of OER that is useful for the purpose of this presentation. In the fourth part, I will talk about the use of films and other kinds of audiovisual media as OER for different topics, subjects, and disciplines. In the last part, I will introduce a few OER for studying film and media. At the outset, I would also like to clarify that the presentation today is limited to the academic study of film and media. So this presentation will not touch upon the online resources that are available for teaching skills like filmmaking, editing, or acting. Also, it does not touch upon aspects like how to write a film script or screenplay, how to get funding for making a film, etc. It also does not touch upon film appreciation, how to be a good viewer of films, or how to write good film reviews. As we all know, there has been a tremendous impact of free resources online in the last 2 decades. The dawn of the internet era in India towards the end of the 1990s opened up a plethora of educational resources for students and teachers. From syllabi to reading material, everything today is at our fingertips. If I have to trace this impact of free online resources autobiographically, in the late 1980s, I was an undergraduate student, and most of the time I had to rely on classroom notes or teachers' notes or the notes that I prepared from the library books for purposes of passing examination or for studying a particular subject. When I moved to post-graduation in the early 90s, the biggest technological innovation at that point in time was the photocopying machine, which allowed us to get access to so many resources without having to buy them or without having to spend long hours in the library. So at that point in time, we had thought that the Xerox machine was a technological marvel. But towards the end of the 1990s, another bigger technological marvel came to us in the form of internet. In the late 1990s, I found myself preparing to pass the UGC NET examination, and it was at that point in time that really the world of the internet opened up for me. Till then, I had been using the internet now and then for teaching in the classroom. But when I began serious preparation for purposes of the NET exam, that was when I discovered both the power and the immense vastness of the internet. One of the first websites I discovered for studying for the UGC NET in English exam was this website called Voice of the Shuttle. So here I found plenty of material related to various ages and various topics in English literature, all available in one place. So I did not have to run from one library to another, collect one book after another. Everything now seemed to be available in the form of hyperlinks. Similarly, another very vast set of material on English literature that I had discovered then was this website called English Literature on the Web. Again, here, as you can see, there were hyperlinks to take me through different ages of English literature, different writers. So it seemed like this was really a wonderful technological marvel that had become available to me towards the end of the 1990s. I found that not only was the material immense, it also made me a better student and a better teacher of literature. It gave rise to self-learning or independent learning as I navigated from one hyperlink to another. It instilled in me a mode of reading or learning that was constructed entirely on my existing knowledge, the interests that I had, in the area of English literature, and it also opened up the possibility of a self-constructed pedagogy and curriculum. For the first time, I discovered freedom from a teacher or a guide. Because I now was the person who was directing my path of learning. The same skills were transferred when I began using online resources as a teacher in the classroom. I found that there was increasing reliance on the available resources online, both free as well as the resources available via institutional subscriptions. So at the postgraduate level where I was teaching, I could frame my syllabus and share the reading material to my students entirely based on the online material that was then available to me as a teacher at a university. Now, the availability of free resources online has impacted me, but I'm sure the impact has been there on all of you. We can see its widespread impact in many spheres. Overall, we know that the internet and the apparently free access to information has given rise to a number of changes in the arena of teaching and learning. If we look at our own classroom experiences, we find that we incorporate a great deal of online learning, in recent times. Also, a lot of learning is happening both within the confines of the university as well as outside using online resources. Another very big change that we see in the last couple of decades has been the promotion of informal learning. If we define informal learning as the pursuit of understanding, knowledge, or skill that occurs without the presence of externally imposed curricular criteria, we find that this kind of informal learning has expanded tremendously. People may not be studying only for purposes of a degree or to take an examination, but they may be pursuing their interest in subjects, topics, which are very, very diverse. And all of us too, I think in some ways, are going through this process of informal learning in our own ways. If this has been going on for the past 2 decades, what is the urgency today for the focus of OER? Why do we find so many webinars, so many online conferences on OER? The challenges posed by the COVID situation, as we all know, have been immense. So it has brought about certain kind of changes in us as teachers and also for our students. One change that we all immediately recognize is that we have all been taking online classes, and these online classes go beyond the four walls. Generally, the transaction that used to happen between the teacher and the student was strictly confined to the walls of the classroom. But today, as we are taking online classes, we find that whoever has a link to the Zoom class that we may be offering can join our class. Also, as it is happening in the case of this present video, I'm recording this video today. It is available to you for viewing maybe in a week's time or in 10 days time. So this sense of fixity with regard to time and place has been broken down as a result of this COVID situation. Secondly, we have all become generators of audio and video content. Earlier, as teachers in face-to-face mode, much of our lecturing was happening in an unmediated fashion. But today, if our students have to get our classroom lectures, they may often ask us to send an audio clip via WhatsApp. So we find ourselves recording our audio, or as I am doing now, I am recording a video lecture. So this is something that we may not have imagined 5 or 6 months ago, but today we have become generators of audio and video content. I think many of us are also uploading many of these videos that we are preparing for our students to the YouTube, so to make it available to the wider public. So in that sense, as teachers, we have become generators of content. Again, earlier, if our students wanted some material or wanted an explanation of a particular subject or topic, they came to us, or we offered them books or material that was with us. But today, if we are in one particular place and our students are somewhere else, we cannot meet them, we cannot hand over materials to them. So one of the things that we may suggest to them is, why don't you go to this website? So we are substituting for our presence, physical presence, these online websites or these online material, and telling them, you can go to this website, you will find this book, you will find this journal article, or you will find this lecture which will help you to understand this topic. So in that sense, we are slowly pushing our students to move away from their dependence upon us, to explore other kinds of resources that may be available to them. Also, a very interesting change that has come about is, today we are orienting ourselves as teachers towards the younger generation's comfort of preference for mediated technologies and social media. Earlier in the classroom atmosphere, if we had noticed our students using the mobile, we may have scolded them, we may have not liked it. But today we are encouraging them to look at their WhatsApp, or to go to Facebook, to access the video that we have sent, or to access some book or e-material, e-learning material that we may have shared with them. So in that sense, we are reorienting ourselves towards the comfort framework, framework of comfort of our students, I would think. The definition of OER, coming to the definition of OER that I'm using in this presentation, this definition comes from a book called A Basic Guide to Open Educational Resources, that was prepared by Neil Butcher for the Commonwealth of Learning and UNESCO. It was published by UNESCO, and this is a book which is available online. So I'm going to an open resource, openly available online resource to talk about OER. So the definition that is available here is fairly comprehensive. It defines OER in this fashion. The concept of OER describes any educational resource, curriculum, maps, course materials, textbooks, streaming videos, multimedia applications, podcasts, and any other material that have been designed for use in teaching and learning, that are openly available for use by educators and students without an accompanying need to pay royalty or license fees. Now I will move on to the use of film and media as OER. Given the greater ease and comprehensibility, films had been used, maybe intermittently, now and then by us, earlier as supplement, if not substitute, for online printed material. For instance, if we take the example of English teachers, literature teachers, they might have used films based on prescribed plays or novels to make the literary text come alive before students' eyes. So if they feel that the students will understand the novel better or understand the theme of the play better, they may screen a film based on that play or based on that novel in the classroom to help their students to engage better with the text. So this you may be familiar already. Some of you may be familiar. You may have already used this resource. It's called Shakespeare on Film. Film education is a very important resource. It is a British resource called Film Education. In that, Shakespeare on Film is a very important resource which gives you a whole host of Shakespearean plays in the form of film. So if there's a prescribed play on Hamlet, maybe you might have shown you might have shown a film based on that particular play. You might have accessed that either through YouTube or through this website. So this website, as you can see, also has other kinds of resources in addition to films, such as study guides, and also link to other materials on Shakespeare. So like that, if you're teaching Jane Austen, or if you've been teaching George Eliot, or some play or novel, I'm sure you would have accessed similar kind of visual material or film material in order to teach that text a little better. Formal and informal learning has been going on through this kind of visual technology for a while now. Especially, I think, since this lockdown began, we would have found that we have become, very avid consumers of various kinds of videos. So there's been an explosion of production and consumption through mediated technologies with the help of our mobile camera and with the help of apps like the now banned TikTok app, and videos have been shared through Facebook and WhatsApp. So in that sense, we find that we have become very, very large, consumers of videos. Maybe in the last 3 months, we might have watched more videos than we might have, watched in the whole of the last 1 year. So this has made us very avid consumers of mediated, texts that are coming in the form of films or in the form of short clips, coming to us through our WhatsApp and Facebook. Visual technologies have become so powerful that for everything from the inside of the human body to the fine beating of the wings of birds and bees, from the distant solar system to the inside of the Earth's core, we have videos opening up for us a never before seen visual universe. So whatever we have not been able to see so far, directly or through our naked eyes, these very sophisticated visual technologies have made it available for us. So you will say a lot of it is informal. You will say a lot of it is not part of a structured curriculum, but there is nothing to prevent us from incorporating many of these things that we have been watching within the ambit of a structured syllabus or curriculum. In these times of pandemic, we have also become consumers of such video sharing platforms as YouTube and Vimeo. As I said earlier, some of us may have already started uploading many of our lectures on YouTube or Vimeo, or we may have, started watching a number of videos related to our discipline or our subject available on these platforms. So these are platforms that have films, videos, not only for entertainment. Of course, we have been using these all these days for our entertainment purposes too. But several thousands of videos are there on these platforms for everything that can be used in formal teaching and learning, from grammar lessons to higher and more sophisticated theoretical concepts in any subject, be it in the sciences, in the social sciences, or in our language teaching. As teachers, we have to now innovate and bring a wide variety of such videos as teaching resources, not just rely on printed material or notes. Now we have to bring all these within the ambit of our curriculum. Here, I want to share with you some of these sample sites and the kind of material that is available on these sample sites. I will here give you a short introduction, and I will also take you to these sites through screen sharing to give you a sense of the material that is available in these sites. So Vimeo, like YouTube, has videos on a variety of topics and subjects. Let us say you want to teach about the environment or about environmental sustainability or environmental protection. There are plenty of videos coming from all kinds of contexts all over the world. If you want videos specifically for the Indian context too, there are videos relating to that as well. In the last few weeks, a lot of us we have been hearing about Black Lives Matter. We have seen the movement against racism gaining momentum in the context of the West. So if you want to introduce your students to issues relating to representation of race in media, there is a very interesting lecture by Stuart Hall. He's a theorist of cultural studies. So there is a lecture where he talks about issues of representation of blacks in advertisements, in cinema, offering you film clips, relating to the representation of race in Western media. This is one sample. So like this, you will find plenty of lectures, plenty of material on various, theoretical concepts in our own subject and in our own discipline. Let us say we want to specialize further as teachers in undergraduate situations. We don't want to restrict ourselves to just teaching the syllabus. We may want to explore the research scenario. We may want to publish papers. We may want to listen to scholars in our field from all over the world. There are many YouTube channels dedicated for such lectures. For instance, Cambridge Sociology, which is a channel of Cambridge University, offers you lectures, public lectures on sociology by various top sociologists in the country, in the world. In our own context, in India, there are many universities also which are sharing such public lectures. A private university like Azim Premji University on their website shares such public lectures. They are also available on YouTube. If you want to teach colonial history or anthropology Of course, you will find a lot of printed material for teaching this. But I don't know if you are aware or if you have explored the vast amount of material that is available in a website called BFI, British Film Institute website, where you will find videos, short clips, and videos from early 1909 onwards to the 1940s and the 1950s, relating to later colonial period. These videos were made, maybe by travelers, or they might have been made by British administrators, mostly for consumption back home. That is, for their own people to view what the situation is like in India or in other, colonized countries. But today they offer a very interesting window to colonial history or to colonial anthropology. I will show this, site as well, so that you get a sense of it. Now, some of the films that are available on BFI are also available in this website called colonialfilm.org.uk. The only interesting addition in this website is that you will find lot of notes related to these videos by many of the film studies scholars and researchers. So they tell you the context of a particular film, when it was made, and how to view or how to analyze this film. I will now try to take you to some of these websites to show you, what I'm talking about. I will just stop the share for a moment as I move to the website. I mentioned Vimeo. Here I have given search term environmental protection. And you can see the number of videos that are there over here from all kinds of contexts. So from documentary films to television ads, from different contexts, you have videos related to environmental protection. Some of them may require a subscription, but many of them are also available free, on this Vimeo website. Similarly, I was talking to you about Stuart Hall's lecture on representation and media. So this is a lecture which introduces you to the issue of race and representation. It tells you how in Western films, in Western media, blacks have been consistently represented in different contexts. So like this, you will find videos on various topics, on various theoretical concepts related to your own discipline. I was talking to you about Cambridge sociology. So this is the website which has, to which you can subscribe. So you'll get a notification which will, tell you if a new video has been uploaded. So there are public lectures, there are academics in conversation, there are also seminars, and there's also information about an oral histories project. So for those of us who want to engage in further research, here is a website which will take us through many to many of these advanced areas in sociology. The British Film Institute, I mentioned BFI. Here is again a large set of videos. I had given search term India over here. So from 1906 to 1909, 1912, 1902, you can find these videos are called actualities. They are short video clips of various cities, of various kinds of performances, of darbar, of trains moving, of various kinds of moments that are captured. Some of them are long, but many of them are fairly short. So it's like one can teach colonial history through these kinds of videos, rather, or as a supplement to the teaching of colonial history through printed material. A supplement to this, to the BFI site, is this website called colonialfilm.org. Now, if you look at this website, you will see here this icon. So this icon is indicative of notes available, along with the videos. So if I click on this video of Bikaner, you will find a synopsis of this video. You will find the context, where was this video shot and how was it made. You will also find an analysis of the educational film on Bikaner. You will also find a works cited list along with these notes. So like this can in itself become a very important source for teaching colonial history or colonial anthropology. Again, I will stop the share for a while and go back to my PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. So we were discussing here the films, videos that are available on different topics, subjects, and disciplines. I just gave you some sample sites. I cannot cover everything that is available here. So I have given you some sample sites. Sample sites that are available on various topics. I will now move to the next topic of OER, which is here I want to introduce you to various kinds of open educational resources that are available for those of you who want to study film and media. Maybe some of you are exploring, topics outside of your disciplinary boundaries. You may want to research on cinema, or you may want to write a research article on cinema or other forms of media. So I want to introduce you here to some of the material, open educational resources that are available to you if you want to pursue your interest in film and media studies. So here there are about 4 or 5 that I have put down here. Film studies for free, moving image archive. So film studies for free has a lot of material, including books, journal articles, PhD dissertations, also film clips, lectures on the film clips. So it's a virtual treasure trove of material on cinema. Archive.org, many of you might already be using it and may be familiar with it for printed material. I also want to draw your attention to the film and images, moving images material that is available here in archive.org. There are films, silent films, era films, films that are out of copyright, all archived in one place. So maybe you want to research on a particular genre of films, say sci-fi, science fiction films, or horror films. So many of these films that are out of copyright are available in this website. Similarly, another site, if you want to, the first 2 sites are, virtually related to cinema in the world, in the context of the entire world. Whereas if you want to specifically focus on India and studies of film or visual material on India, Tasveer Ghar has plenty of visual, what it calls as visual essays, mostly related to Indian cinema and visual culture. So here there are journal articles, contemporary studies on cinema, on comics, on cartoons. So it's again a very vast set of material, visual essays, journal, articles that are there in visual form, incorporating visuals, and these are all available in this website called Tasveer Ghar. For those of you who want to study films, particularly Indian films, again, a very large database of cinema is available in this website called indiancine.ma. Now, this website has a number of films. It also has various kinds of details relating to the films. When was a film released? Who was the director? Who was the lyricist of the film? So it gives you various kinds of details relating to the film. And some of these films are also annotated. So there are also notes relating to some of these films. And of course, in addition to all these, you may already be aware there are courses relating to Indian films, both in MIT open courseware as well as on SWAYAM platforms. I'm not going into those areas because, again, they are very vast in themselves. So those of you who are interested in doing a course, let's say on film analysis, you can explore the SWAYAM and MIT platforms for this purpose. Now, let me show you some of these websites that I have marked out here. I will stop the share of this PPT and go to the particular websites that I have mentioned here. I already showed you this, the Colonial Film website. Now I want to show you this website called Film Studies for Free. Yeah. So this is a website called Film Studies for Free, which I mentioned earlier. So if you look at this website, you will find various film clips, you will find write-ups, but here, as I mentioned, you will find online journals, e-books, dissertations, and you will find essays and discussions on particular films by scholars such as Laura Mulvey, Peter Woolen, and so on. So they discuss particular film clips as well as, there's a lot of printed material as well on this site. Tasveer Ghar is the site I was mentioning to you, that this is an archive of South Asian popular visual culture. It has a lot of visual essays. So there are essays relating to Indian cinema, but also on comic books, on cartoon culture. So again, here, this is a very interesting kind of database of articles and essays and visual material relating to cinema and various forms of media. The last one that I mentioned was indiancine.ma. As you can see here, there are films. I have given the search term Hindi over here. So there are films related to different languages. If you want to look at Kannada films, there are 12, Malayalam 14. So like that, different language films are here. It's a searchable database. So you can search by filmmaker, you can search by year, you can search by language or by the studio. And as I mentioned, some of these films also come with annotations or notes, extensive notes about these films. So in that sense, those of us who want to research further on, a particular aspect of Indian cinema will find this an invaluable resource. I will now stop the share of this website and go back to my slide. So after we looked at OER, for studying different subjects, now these are the open resources that are available for studying film and media. As I mentioned in the beginning, what I have offered is only a kind of very minuscule sample of sites, that are available for film and media. Those of you who have more specific interests, or you want to ask me specifically about material that is available on a topic, you're most welcome to write to me through the organizers with your questions, with your comments, with whatever information you want from me. If possible, if I have that information, I would be happy to share it with you. So with this, I think I come to the end of my presentation. I come to the end of my presentation. I am very thankful to all of you for being with me, in the course of this discussion on open educational resources. I'm very happy that I could discuss what little I know about film and media as open educational resources with you. For more specific comments, questions, suggestions, you're most welcome to contact me through the organizer. Thank you very much.